Okay, so this is basics of video filming and editing, right? So it's a small webinar. As I said, don't hesitate to interrupt me if you have any questions. I'm here for that. Or if you have like, lots of questions, write them down and, and I will be able to answer. Baraka is saying that she can't hear. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you well.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. So I think they probably have to log out and log back in. Sometimes that happens. So we're going to cover some basic concepts tonight to get you started with videos. Nowadays, especially since we can't, with COVID, we can't really reach people. We have to find a way to be able to, to talk to them. And the best way is videos online. So you've seen a lot of videos already, I'm sure. And you can tell if you enjoy the video by its quality, right? So there are some few things that I want to give you, and that will be helping you do some good quality content. So I'm not an expert, let's say it like that, but I've learned by myself most of the things I know, and I'm very passionate about about what I do. So I learned a lot, and I try to apply what I've learned. So, but what I really enjoyed is that uh, when was that? Almost 5 years ago. No, yeah, not quite 5 years ago, but I was the production director and technical director for the GC, for the General Conference, for 10 months. So it was a mission that they gave me to cover a project, a GC session. So we had a team of 12 people, and we were in charge of leading all the visual audio aspects, setting up the conference, the stage, lighting, sound, and all the program for the conference. They were approximately 1,200 people. And so I worked on that project for 10 months. And then as a result, we had some videos and things that were given. So we had like kind of a small TV session, TV station for 4 days. So, but as I said, I'm not an expert. So many things that I do, I try. If it doesn't work, I try again. I search, I Google, I look at videos, and that's how I find out if I have any issues. So how to do filming and editing. So let's start with filming first of all. Before you actually start taking your device and start filming, you want to think and plan before filming anything. So think and make your plan. Write down on paper or have a clear plan in your head. What is your final product? What do you want to do? Is it a cooking class? Is it an interview? Is it a like talking head? Is it what is it, right? Many of my video production right now is just sermons. So sermons, there's not much that you can do with it. It's pretty much someone talking and that's it. So you don't have a lot of creativity there. But if you're doing like some cooking classes or I don't know, like we're trying to run this year, we're going to do with the kids, hopefully, we're going to run a project where all the youth from the East Canadian Field Conference will be involved in preparing and recording a little video on what is a church for them. What is a church to them? How could they introduce the church to somebody that doesn't know us? What do we do? Cooking classes. We don't only do preaching, right? So we do a lot of things in the church. How do they view it? What is it to them? And so each team will have a little part, and they can put it together and then present it in the summer. So what is your final product, and how are you going to deliver it? For example, is it going to be a video on YouTube that you're going to show? Is it a short clip for Instagram or Facebook? Just like 30 seconds. Sometimes 20 or 30 seconds is more efficient than half an hour. Many times actually. So make sure you plan your project before you start. The shorter you can do something, the best it is. So if you can do a cooking demonstration in 25 seconds, it's better than 3 minutes. But I would say, make sure that you are very short and to the point, cut through things like crazy, because people don't want to spend too much time in watching your things. They're busy. Now, The second question you have to ask yourself is, what tools are you going to use for filming and then later on for editing? If you're going to film, you have basically three options: either a phone, a DSLR, or a professional, like a handheld camera. So top quality phone. If you use a cell phone, it has to be extremely good quality phone. Um, uh, to film, you need to have a good quality optics. You need to have good quality phone. But filming with a phone, a smartphone nowadays is very possible. So you want to have ideally the latest or the previous generation of phones, and you can use that to film. If you want to step up and go to a DSLR, DSLR are the reflex cameras. They were actually designed to take pictures, but they can be used for filming, and they do an excellent job at filming. So that's something you could look into. There are many cameras now that film in 4K, and so on. But you need some different type of equipment. Or you could use a camera, like a commercially available camera, like our grandparents were using. And But those usually also involve more skills, and it's more pricey, and they don't do as good as a job unless you put a big amount of money in there. So basically, if you look at your budget, a phone, well, you know the price of a phone, between $600 and $1,000, pretty much around that price range. A DSLR is about 1,500, and the camera, if you want a good camera, it's around 1,500 as well. The benefit of cameras is that they're designed for this purpose. So they will have all the options you need, for tweaking the lighting, the sound, and everything else. You have all the ports. So many times this will be uh, better for those purposes. So filming, phone, DSLR, or camera. Now editing, you pretty much don't have much choice. You could edit very basic videos on a phone, but you need a computer. As soon as you want to do something, you need a good computer. So we'll go into editing a little bit later, but computer would be your first choice. Now you need also to have a budget when you start. That was my mistake when I started filming. There are two mistakes that I made. The first mistake is I didn't have a budget, and I started to buy gears, and I thought I needed this and I needed that and I needed this, and then I bought a lot of things, and it was a very complicated setup. And yes, it was perfect, but very expensive, very complicated. And I realized that my second mistake is that I'm not good in front of the camera. I'm good behind the camera, not in front. And so I wanted to do some missionary videos and some cooking classes and some other types of videos. And I realized that I was not the best person there, because I was always thinking of all the technicalities, all the things that I was supposed to do. Like right now, I'm not looking at the camera, right? I'm looking at my computer screen, and my camera is right there. So now I'm looking at the camera, and you can see it's probably more alive. But in order to look at the camera, if you want to really look at the camera, you need to have a teleprompter, which is something very expensive, professional range. So there are a few things that I didn't think about, and I found myself a little bit constrained there. So I, start slow, start on the low end, and then you can always buy more gears and more things, and it's exciting, but can be very pricey, very money consuming. So you can always do an okay quality video without investing, for example, in lights, or big soundboards, or editing software that could cost a lot of money. Now, when you go into the actual filming, and you let me know if you have any questions at this point, right? But when you actually start filming, try to think of post-editing before you film. So try to think of the work that will be after. Filming is the easy part, but you need to think about later, because, and that's why I come back to the plan, make a plan, write a plan. If you need a storyboard or something, write it down. What shots you want to have, um, what do you want to show? If you have a cooking class, for example, you want to show your hands, I mean, I don't know, kneading the dough or something, and you want to save yourself work for later on, because pretty much what I've observed is that every 10 minutes of filming that you do, you'll spend a minimum of 1 hour of work in post, in editing. So every 10 minutes you film, minimum 1 hour. So you don't want to film too much. It's better to film short clips, and a lot of them short, so you have a lot of choices and options, than filming a long clip and then not knowing what to do with it.
So like for example, like those recipes that we see that are not cooking classes, those like recipes that you see many images that quickly show you, that's many clips, or it's one big clip and they just fast forward.
You can do, okay, you always need, I'll come back but you always need to think a lot of B-roll footage. B-roll is what you don't necessarily need, you're not necessarily going to use it, but you want to have it as a backup, as a filler. So let's say you're explaining something, and you're kneading the dough, but you can't just film your hands kneading the dough for duration of your explanation. So you want to have some different clips that will come in between. So you film that whole session, maybe, you film yourself doing the recipe once. Either you have a second camera that film different things at the same time, or you can repeat the recipe, and this time you focus on some actions. You film the ingredients separately. You film your hands doing something separately. You film, I don't know.
Or you fast forward.
Yeah, like well, you could fast forward, but
like if you're kneading, let's say for 10 minutes, you could just write like 10 minutes kneading. You show like.
Oh yes, yeah. Yeah. You want to show like 5 seconds of kneading.
Yeah, exactly.
Plenty. And then but what you could do also is for example, film the dough rise, right?
Okay, yeah, slowly, like
the whole duration, and then you accelerate the whole thing. Let's say it's half an hour rise, then you accelerate in post-production into 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Rise, right? You've seen those things before.
Yeah.
So the more you experience with editing, the more you can do those things. Accelerating, it's very easy to do, actually, as long as your lighting doesn't change. And we'll talk about lighting.
Because like the way that I see it is like sometimes there's recipes that like the person it's just a person, you don't see her face, the face, and like I think they use like a tripod, and it's like it just shows like everything is there, and they just put everything together, and then they just fast forward the video kind of thing.
Yeah, you can fast forward, but you can also cut. You have to cut a lot of things. So like when you're pouring something, you don't show the whole process of picking up the thing, pouring it.
Yeah, you pour a bit, then you cut, then you go to like you're in the pan or whatever. Okay.
Right. Just short actions. So you have to think that, and editing will take the most of your time. That's the for me, I don't like that part. It's not fun to me, editing, but it's something that you have to go through to make a good video. One thing that will make your work a lot easier is to record your sound on device if possible, instead of recording it separately and later having to sync your sound, in post-production. So what I mean by that is that sometimes some people have like a recorder, like an external recorder that has a better sound quality than their cell phones. So they record the sound separately, and then you have to match the two together. That's not fun to do.
Would you say that it's even, I don't know if better would be the word, but just easier to have like a song? Like, how some people, it's like they don't say anything, they just have the actions, and they have like a song in the background, or not a song, but usually like
music.
They have music in the background, and then it's written like, I don't know, knead for 20 minutes, it's written and they're kneading. Like, is that easier?
It is easier, yes.
You just put the song.
It's not as interesting, but it could. Yes, it's definitely easier.
Well, maybe it's like, For music, singing actually is preferred to record differently because you will be away from microphone when you take the video. But normally you sing along with the music, but you don't need to sing exactly the way that you record the voice. But on the other hand, you sing and record your voice in a good quality because music has a pace, so it won't be off. It's not like a free speech. Free speech, you cannot synchronize your speech with a video. It is very, very weird. But for music, it's always the same pace, so you can always.
You're saying, Brother Goldie, if you're recording a music video, like someone singing,
yeah,
you could record them sing and then record the sound separately later on with their microphone closer to their mouth. That's what you're saying.
But when you record a video, you should also sing, but you don't need to focus too much to sing well. But you focus on more your visual language when you take a video, together with your music. And then what I do is that I listen to 2 tracks of music and use the music to sing. But then I muted the music with the video track and use the music of the other track.
Yes, if you want to record like a choir or some kind of a music song, like a song somebody sings, you can do that, but it will be visible. Like it's really hard. Like even top quality videos where people have, they sing on the track and their lips follow the music, you can still see it. There's
you should not just open the lips, you should also sing. That's the key. That's the key. You should not pretend to be singing.
Right.
You should sing together. Yeah.
That's true. That's true. So that's something you could do. But what Naisha was talking about is when you're filming like a recipe, for example, you're filming a recipe, you don't have to necessarily speak. They don't have to hear your voice. You can just write subtitles, and then those subtitles would tell the user what to do, like the viewer what to do, and then put some music as a filler.
Yeah, or like even like, because I'm looking at one now to explain it better. Like sometimes it's just the bowl and you don't even have to write what you're doing. They see what you're doing, right? Like you're putting the ingredients together and then you just write the ingredients really quickly. You're putting it in a pan, heating it, and whatever it is.
But I found that somebody speaking is really more interesting than just looking.
That's right.
I see most of the cooking video, they have a sometimes they mix with some funny thing to speak together. It will be very interesting, but it's instead of just looking at you.
Yeah, because we are human beings and we're used to speak and listen more than read. It's not as interesting if you're watching a video and nobody's talking. Like for example,
no, but there has to be like a little. Can I share one? Because maybe it would be like more. Maybe I'll just send it to you.
Can you share your screen there, or?
But it depends on the context, though. I mean, I know what Naisha is talking about. Yeah. Like when you're looking at a recipe, I find those small videos where they just show you what they're doing, and I don't even listen to half of what they're saying. I just want to see how they do what they're doing.
Exactly. I'm like,
they just show you. They take this, they pour it in, they blend it, and that's it. It depends on what you're doing, but I had a question. I'll wait till. But I think it depends on the kind of video you're doing or what is the context you're putting the video in.
That's right. You're right. You have to select what you're doing, and choose a style that you want to go with. Some people only do that. Some people never show their faces. Some people only show their hands. Some people just go with text, as you're saying, and some others will just will just talk. So I can show you several examples. So this is what possibly pause and then just get the recipe from here. If you do that, by the way, always write your recipe here, and here it's not. You see in the notes.
He has his website though.
All right. But what I'm saying is that people don't want to click and pause and all the time.
Yeah. Usually, I think I think Julie had a point. Like these, so it depends like what you want to do. Like, do you want to reach people who don't know how to cook? Then don't do that, because people who don't know how to cook, they probably need more of a step-by-step thing. This is for people that they already know, but they just want to know quickly, like, okay, how did he put this together? And then they go to the ingredients. So I mean, I guess yeah, it depends on the audience that you're targeting, right?
That's very true.
This one is like a visual recipe.
Yes.
Like a visual recipe. It's
Yes.
very simple. You just instead of reading the ingredient, but they show you. Yeah.
Also, you
But
have
many videos they show you the detail how to do it. Yeah.
That's true. You also have to remember the age of your audience. This video is 1:20, so this is targeted at a younger generation. Younger people want to see short videos to the point, and that's it. You know, cut all the fluff. You know, you don't want to have all of that. Now I'll show you another recipe here. That's actually from our church, the cutting board, and it's nine minutes. Right, so it's more for older generations. It's a slower pace. Right? So there's an introduction actually to it. All right, some graphics.
Welcome back to the cutting board.
All right, and as you can see here, there is a talking head with, you know,
For a lot of people who are transitioning from a meat diet to a plant-based diet, the thing that I hear they miss the most is bacon.
All right, so he will explain a lot of things, and then you see also different shots. I actually filmed that one, so that's why I'm showing it to you. So different.
And 4.
Yeah, we actually use different cameras and so on. So that's more advanced. And I'll show you later on. I'll show you some other videos. But so this is, you have to look at your audience and select your style. And there's nothing wrong with trying different things. And your first videos, you know, will be your first videos, and you'll move, you know, after that. So you'll learn. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. Learning is excellent. That's what I'm excited about going to heaven, is that we'll always learn and continually, you know, learning new things. So and getting better at it. Julie, you had a question.
Yes. As you were talking about the voiceover, how it's complicated, I mean, I'm thinking, because the brethren in Australia, they're doing a beautiful work. They're planning on like homeschooling video series. They're making it themselves for the kids, and I think I just got too excited with what they were doing, and I said I was going to help them too. So, but I was thinking that we were saying that it's nice if you have different shots, but if I'm having different shots of the same thing that I'm doing, how can I still keep? I mean, am I gonna have to just like repeat myself over and over? Like if I'm taking a shot, let's say I don't know, I'm showing my computer and I'm saying, and I have my computer in front of me. Oh, this is my computer, and then I stop, and then I move the camera and I put it on a different side, just to make sure, just to have an extra shot. And then I said, oh, this is my computer and it's on another side. Is that what we're gonna have to do, or?
No, you don't want to do that. You only film what you are going to use. So don't create extra shots, extra angles, because then you will be lost in tons of video roll, and you won't know what to do with it. So if you want to have multiple angles and then cut between them as you progress into your story, you know, basically, that's fine. But don't show the same thing. If you've shown one thing already, don't show it twice from a different angle. It's not necessary. Now, what you want to do is you want to vary the angles through your presentation. So for example, you're talking about a recipe, again, the recipe, you want to show your hands, your face, your hands, the ingredients, you know, so you see, so some close-up video, some wide angles, and so on. So you want to have some different things, and many of those things you can do later on in post-production. So for example, zooming in a video, and I was going to talk about that, but your best zoom is your feet. So we're always told that the best zoom is your feet. So if you need to zoom, never use your zooming feature on your phone or on the camera. It's not good enough. So always come closer to the object, or further away, and that's the best way. In post-production, you can always zoom in on an object if it's not framed correctly, but up to a certain point, you can't really come really close to an object, right?
You have to take 2 shots then.
So yeah, if you need to show something, you have an establishing shot, which is usually wider, and then let's say you want to show your computer, you have an establishing shot, and then you have a close-up of the object you actually want to show, and that should be like half a second establishing shot, or a second, and then your close-up. Let me just show you what I mean. Okay, I'm going to share my my phone. All right. All right, so this is my phone, right? My desk. Okay, so let me rotate. It will be easier to see. All right, so I'm going to do an establishing shot like this. Okay, like that. And then I want to show something closer. Then I film like this. And then in post-production, then I'll cut from this to this right away. You know what I mean? So it won't be like me zooming in or something like that. That's not necessary, unless you have some gear, like expensive gear, that will allow you to do some very steady shots.
Well, in that case, you need somebody to film you.
No, a tripod is good. If you have a tripod, you start your recipe like this, with all your ingredients. Your ingredients are right there. Mm-hmm. And then you pause, right? You stop the filming, and then you go to one ingredient, and then the next one, and then the next one, and then you'll just cut between all of them.
Okay.
You know what I mean? In post. But that's why you'll have some work in later on in editing.
So what would you say is the easiest in time, like the least time consuming?
Least time consuming is you set a tripod and you let it roll. That's it.
And you just cook.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like the brother that you were showing now, mm-hmm. You can technically do something like that. It could still be interesting, no? Or what's interesting about him is that people, like, there's more angles and stuff like that. Like, what's the difference?
Yes. Okay. So what's interesting is, let me roll again.
And 1 tablespoon of maple syrup.
Music, in my opinion,
I'm gonna put in after the oil because it comes out a little easier.
The oil is kind of coating. See how many cuts there are?
Yeah.
Then 1 teaspoon of the liquid smoke.
The same thing.
I can't hear you anymore. I hear the guy speaking.
We've got 6 tablespoons of the liquid aminos.
All right. So I yes, you're not listening. You're not hearing me. But I was saying, you can't really see a long shot. It's like you see his hands, then his face, his hands again, and it's
there's a little music in the background.
Right. The music was very loud, so that's what I don't like so much in this style. And that's some point that I will mention actually towards the end, but choosing your music. But the shots are never long, and that's what keeps it interesting. 4 seconds is already very long.
Like TV, I guess.
Yes, like TV. It's always.
I think it's because we're used to TV. Yeah, we can't just stay there and listen to.
It is boring, when somebody talks and you just are there. You're not there.
So, we got unused to it. Yeah, sorry.
That's right. So when you're doing video, you have to remember the person is not in front of you. So you want to direct their attention to what you're doing. Mm-hmm. When you talk, okay, have your establishing shot and then zoom to the thing. Don't stay long, except for maybe the introduction, 10-15 seconds, and then zoom in, out, zoom in, out. So the best is if you have 2 phones, that's easier, but they have to be the exact 2 same phones.
So
Not the same phones, same brand, same camera. You'll have difference in color, difference of quality, different of grain. So it will be very hard to fix that. It's nearly impossible.
So then let me rephrase my question. What's the least time consuming, but that's good? Like that would be like what I'm trying to say is it easier, is it less time consuming to make the videos like I was talking about, or it's less time consuming to make a video like the brother you just showed, for example?
What you're talking about. What you're talking about is just filming one thing, just wide shots,
Yeah.
and then accelerating it, cutting, many things that are not necessary, and then putting all together and still accelerated maybe a little bit. That will be less time consuming.
Okay, because I'm thinking of the time that I have, which is not a lot. And
Um,
sometimes I use it for alone time, so I'm trying to see how can I be efficient in my time.
Don't try to chew more than you can bite,
Yeah.
So video editing takes a long time. Like just 1 hour of sermon I was doing for this Sabbath, for example, it was about an hour. All right. It took me about 9-10 hours of work just for that hour, and there
Wow.
was nothing exciting about it, like no movement, nothing complicated, right? And so yes, so that's why you need to, but I'm a perfectionist too, so I like to take time to do everything perfect. And watching it again, I saw that there were a few things that didn't work, but anyways,
Can you still do editing if you're not a perfectionist? Because I'm not a perfectionist. So what happens then? Is it still gonna turn out okay?
learn from your mistakes, do it the way you want to do it, and then see what people think, right? Ask for their feedback
Yeah.
and listen to to them,
Yeah.
because ultimately we're doing it not for us but for them, right? So as I was saying, think a lot of B-roll footage. So even if you're talking about what you're doing, Naisha, filming the whole thing, it's always good before you actually start the recipe, film the ingredients. Film, I don't know, the bread when it's made. You film the whole crunchy bread or something.
Yeah.
So film a lot of things that you might want to use later on. There are different rules about photos when you're taking photos and when you're filming. So you've probably heard the rule of thirds when you take photos, right? When you take a still picture, you want your main subject to be 1/3 to the right or to the left and not center.
I didn't get that.
Okay, so when you're taking a picture,
Yeah.
you never want your main subject to be in the center, dead center. It's not pretty. You want
Oh,
them
like
to be off center, 1/3 to the right or 1/3 to the left.
let's say the recipe you made, like the bread you made. That's what you
No.
mean?
What I'm saying, when you take a still picture, camera picture,
Yeah.
don't put your subject,
Your
whatever
subject is like the person you're taking a picture of, or
what you want to show. Don't put what you want to show in the center.
so let's say I want to take a picture of bread. You're saying don't put the bread in the middle, in the center. That's what you
That's
mean?
right. That's right.
Okay.
So you put it always off center. I don't know if I have an example.
That's good because I always put things in the center. That's good to
That makes
know.
it less interesting, actually. Okay,
Yeah.
look at this picture, for example. All right, this picture right here. You see how the main subject is on the side, 1/3 from the top and 1/3 from the left too. Right, so it's more towards the left, and of course the slices also are there, but it's
Yeah.
more to the if you want I don't know model picture.
I guess it makes it looks more natural, like more.
Just you see how it's more to the side and not in the center. Usually you want to avoid the center when you take pictures. Now when you film, that's the opposite. You want to put everything in the center because our field of view, when they're moving things, our field of view is centered. So you want to put things in the center when you are actually filming. That's important, and you want to direct the viewer to what you're doing. So zoom a lot. go close, do an establishing shot, and then go close. You know, you want to show your hands and just your hands. You want to show half your body, you know, or something. You want to show your hands and the ball, or you want to show, you know, something close. It's always good if you can have some movement. And what I mean by movement is not trembling like motion, but a steady movement, right? So it's good if you can. So there are some tricks you can use if you don't have a stabilizer, or you know, don't try to steady your shot with your hands. You're not steady enough. You know, there's no way. So what you could do is you could use a tripod. I have a tripod here. I can show you. You can
How
use.
much does a tripod cost? Because I mean, there's those that you put like on a table. Then there's that one that looks bigger, or that's
Yeah,
like
those mini pods are good. Those mini pods are cost probably around $20. This
Okay.
tripod is a tripod for photography that I use, and it's more like $250.
Okay. It's like more like a standing one that you use to.
Yeah, standing. You
Okay.
want to be as stable as you can, and sometimes you can have someone helping you film and add some movement. So, for example, if you use a tripod, you put, you know, your tripod on one foot, right? Let me rest it on the ground. You put your tripod on one foot, and here you're stable. You're very stable, but at the same time, you can move slightly. You see what I mean? So
Mhm.
it's a lot steadier because you have one foot, and then you just have to practice moving on using one, you know, one shot. So you want to film, for example, if somebody has helping you, you put your ingredients. Okay, so you put your ingredients and you start filming from the left, and you go like this, right, at the same.
Mhm.
And then you put it on the right, and you film your bowl with your ingredients, and then you film from the right. So it adds variety and some movement to it. So it's always good to try that when you want to do some more advanced filming. Now, it's important to understand that you cannot fix things easily in post-production. So if you do a mistake in filming, it will take you a lot of time to try to fix it, and sometimes you can't. So it's
Like what kind of mistake?
I'm sorry?
Sorry. What kind of mistake? What's
So that's what I'm going to mention right now. So make sure everything is good before you film. And the key points is there are 4 points that you have to look for. The most important thing, and I will stress that out, the most important point is not the image, is the sound. That's your priority when you're filming something. This is your most important point. You want to have perfect sound, which means no background sounds, you know, kids crying, a clock, a fan that's running in the background, or even some, I don't know, some sounds that you're used to in your home, if you want to film at home, or if you're filming outdoors, you know, the cars passing by, you're used to that because you live in that environment. But when somebody watches a video, you want to avoid completely all those sounds. So Naisha, if you're doing a video without sound, it's, yeah, no problem. You can always add your music and your text. That would be easier. But if
Yeah.
you're with sound, make sure you have no background sound. That's why I always do my recording at night after the kids are in bed. And like Friday night, for example, I was finishing up the recording, actually the subbing, audio subbing. So the French translation, adding the French translation on top of the video. And I finished everything. And 1 minute later, Lily woke up. You know, she cried and she woke up because something happened. So I was lucky there. But it's important. Yeah, it would have messed up the whole hour of recording. So no background noise. If you have the possibility of getting an external mic that you can plug on your phone, that's the ideal. If you want to have your voice, this is not necessarily that expensive, but if you have to invest in anything, that's the mic. The mic is your first investment besides your camera. That's your first investment. It's the most important thing. If you cannot invest in an external mic, then you have to use your phone as close to the subject as possible, as close to the person as possible. So if you want a person like an interview style thing, then you wanna have your phone in close up. because closer means better sound. You want to avoid any echo in the room. So if it's an empty room, there will be some echo. So you want to try to avoid that. Go somewhere where the sound is perfect, right? So you want to really, really look at that, and be careful of all the contact noises. You know, banging the mic, scratching the mic, just sound on it. Like you're handling your phone, right? Your mic is here. So if you're handling here, you don't realize, but you move your fingers or you move your hands around, you won't realize it, but it makes a lot of noise when you listen to it. So try to avoid all of that. Everything that is in contact with the phone and can communicates noise through direct contact will be wrong. For example, if I'm attaching my phone to my tripod with my attachment, that's my attachment that I put. So I'm attaching the phone there, and I'm moving the tripod, and I'm hitting the tripod. The sound will be communicated through it, and you will hear everything. So that's why you want to avoid that. So sound is the most important point. The second most important point is lighting. Even if you have a bad camera, sound is first, lighting is second. So lighting, you want to avoid conflict between natural and artificial light. So many times in our homes, the light that comes from the sun is bright, and without entering into details, it's close to 5,000 kelvins. So it's a temperature, it's the color of the temperature. So it's bright white during the daytime. And our household light is usually slightly yellow. It's more soothing, more peaceful, right? So if you have the sun and an artificial light in your kitchen, it won't be pretty, you know. So you want to avoid that as much as possible. Some halogen lights are very similar to the sun, so look at it. Look if it's the same color. Look outside, color of the sun, color of your lights. So compare the two. And I always at home I always get the bright white when they say the coldest whiter lights instead of the yellow ones. So if you have a choice, just as an example, this is yellow. You see my face, it's pretty yellow, right? Orange, kind of orangey. So you want to avoid that. Well, no, it's dark, but anyways.
So what do you do? Let's say like in my kitchen, the sun doesn't come in the natural light doesn't come, and my lights are just horrible. They're just yellow. Like, what do you do then?
Well, if all the lights are yellow, it's fine.
Okay.
Perfectly fine, as long as there is no difference between outside and inside. So if you're filming at night, for example, I don't recommend that unless you have very bright lights. You need a lot more light when you film something than when in real life. So if you want to add light to your scene, like if you're cooking, you're just showing your hands, just add some artificial light that has the same color.
Like a lamp or something?
Yeah, like a lamp,
Well,
like
the lamp you
this,
just
right? And you take a piece of paper, make sure it's the same as your, you put it here, you put it there, and you see if it's the same color. Make sure it's the same color, and you can add a lamp.
Okay.
No problem. But lighting is very important. If you use a DSLR instead of your phone, which I don't know if many people will use, but on the DSLR, you have to do a white balance. So this is where you tell the camera, now this is white. Even though you use like some artificial lighting, you tell the camera, this yellow, I want it to become white. And the camera will just adjust all the colors for this to be white. So that's good. You can't do that on the phone, on the cell phone. So that's why you want to have no conflicts between the lights. Add light if you can. But if you can't, that's okay. Now, the third point is quality of video, and that's important. Nowadays, the minimum is 1080p, which is called HD, right? HD cameras, right? You know what HD is. Most people know. It's actually another name for this is 1080p, and that's a minimum. um, uh, a 720p is not good enough. So when you will start your project on your computer, it will ask you, do you want full HD or do you want just lower HD, or which quality you want? If you see 1080p, that's what you want to choose, right? Don't choose anything below that. You 4K is better. If you can film in 4K, that's even better. But be ready to have big, large files, and you need to have space on your computer too. You want to also use high quality optics. So again, if you have a phone, last generation or the one before, not so much older anymore, you know. Never use digital zoom. Never, never, never use digital zoom. Just move the camera closer. Right? Digital zoom is actually iPhone XR. I don't know if it's the latest one. I think the latest is
The
12.
latest is 12.
Yeah, iPhone XR, I think it's fine. Yeah, still
I'm
fine.
changing mine in May. My contract is changing, so in May I'll get a 12. But
Good.
until-
That's good. Yeah, 2-year-old is fine. You know, they do pretty good videos still. You know, but yeah. So never use digital zoom. Always zoom with coming closer to it. The benefit of having a DSLR or a pro camera is you can have a shallow depth of field. Do you know what a depth of field is? Let me just show you an example. All right, just to show you an example here. I'll share my screen. All right, so this is a shallow depth of field, right? You can see the person's face, very sharp, in focus, and the background out of focus. Right?
Bonjour, mon nom est Marie-Betty Vieux. J'aimerais vous parler un petit peu de
All right, so you see that there are some kids playing, but it's not distracting, and the subject is detached from the background.
la francophonie.
Okay, so and as you can see, I made those mistakes when I was a kid. It's fine, but when I was younger, I should say, but she's not centered. So it's not too bad, but I won't do that again. So that's the benefit of having a DSLR or having some better equipment. You can do those effects that are usually very good. You can't really do that with a cell phone. Not yet. Technology is not good enough yet for that. So that would be the benefit of your DSLR or pro camera. The only other benefit of a pro device is that you can plug everything to it. Your power cable, your sound cable, everything else. And the fourth most important thing after that is selecting your shots. As we mentioned already, I'm not going to spend much time, but wide shots, close-ups, mid shots, if you need, you know. So if you film in 4K, that's something you can do. You could film in 4K wide, and then you can zoom later on in post-production. You can zoom in on the 4K image. You can zoom and show different things, and even have some movements in post-production if you want to spend some time doing that. Now let's go into editing. Unless you have some question about filming, let's go into editing. And I don't want to spend too much of your time. But for editing, you basically need a fast computer. You can do it with another computer, but if you don't have a fast computer, it will take hours and hours of rendering, which is exporting the video, because your computer has to calculate every image and every pixel in every image and export it to, you know, a video. So you want to look at a computer that is good. It's hard to say which one, you know, but look at your recommended specs on your software that you're going to use. It will tell you what's the minimum and what's the recommended specs.
So I need to change my computer soon. And initially I wanted to get a MacBook Air. But MacBook Airs are known to not be very good at that, no? Like
they're very good actually, especially new M1 MacBook Air that came out.
Like they can hold a lot of data and do video editing, because Christian's always like, well, if you're, unless you're video editing, you don't need that. You don't need like you could just take a MacBook Air, for example. Or he'll be like, he always says like, unless you're video editing. So like it makes me feel like maybe
which level of video editing do you want to do? Because that's the thing. Any
Yeah, okay.
computer will do the video editing I do on a daily basis. Any computer could do it.
Okay.
Right. So the faster the computer, the less time it will take rendering, but you don't need a very powerful computer. MacBook Airs are excellent.
Okay.
It's just that like Julie is doing some video editing also. You know, I showed her how to do it, and she's doing it on her MacBook Air. So it's good. It's not the best equipment. Like if you want to do some professional moving graphics and, you know, titles in 3D and all of that, sure. You know,
it'll be fast. Like that's what I mean. Like it'll still be efficient.
Yes.
Okay.
For like on my computer, for example, a video, 1 hour video exports in about an hour and a half. Right.
Okay.
And that's a pretty advanced computer. So if you have a basic MacBook Air, 1 hour of video will export maybe in 2.5 hours. But you know, you let it run at night, you just plug it and let it run at night, and that's it.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Isn't one of the main things the memory, like how much storage your computer has? Because that's what I've seen. You had your issues, or I've had.
Yes, storage and memory are two different things. Memory makes things faster. It's called RAM. It makes things faster. And your graphic cards also plays a role in there. And storage, yes, it's important to get as much storage as you can afford to, because video editing takes a lot of storage space. So, and I don't recommend working on an external drive for daily editing. For storage, it's fine, but for working on it, you need to work on the storage that you have on your computer. So when you buy a MacBook Air, for example, buy it with a higher storage than the minimum, because you'll be very limited very quickly, and you'll regret it. So storage space, especially for 4K videos, it requires a lot of storage. What I say by a lot is that if you film 10 minutes, you'll have, I don't know, maybe 20 gigs.
So like, for example,
of raw data, sorry, 20 gigs of raw data, raw filming. Then when you edit, your software will require double that amount to process, because it calculates and exports at the same time. So you have 20 gigs of raw data, 20 gigs that the computer will need to operate, and 20 gigs for the export. So you need quite a bit of space. Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry about that. No, I just wanted to know, like, for example, here, when I look at my storage, it says SSD 430 gigabytes available of $499. Like, I have no idea what that means. Is that a lot? Is that a little, not a lot?
430 gigs on SSD is perfect. But if you need to renew the computer,
oh, but I have 69 left, because that's 430 out of 499.
That's my point. So if you have 16 left, that's not enough at all.
Yeah.
At all. No.
I have to clean up
my projects, any of my video projects take at least 100 gigs.
Wow.
So 100 gigs of available space. Like I just cleaned up something on Julie's computer, because before I bought this one, I worked on Julie's computer, and it cleared like 60 gigs, and it was a short video, just 60 gigs, just by dumping the project and the project files. So once you're done and your videos on YouTube, I keep everything. I keep my raw shots and everything, just in case. I don't know why I keep them, but anyways, I do. But if you want to get rid of it, just remove it, and that's it. What I like to have, I have an external storage where I store all of those things. So, which is, several terabytes.
So you're a digital hoarder?
Yes. Yes. So storage is important. I don't think you will use a lot of equipment, so you don't need a lot of ports that are professional ports. Like MacBook Pro is for pros, right? So that's why you don't want to have, and it's if you want a good one, it's around $3,000. So I don't think that
Christian has that, so I'm gonna use Christian.
He's a pro. He's a pro.
Yeah, exactly.
that explains his needs.
Mhm.
Unless you have professional needs, like for work, I don't recommend you to buy, $3,000.
Yeah.
That's not
Christian
necessary.
has two actually because his job is giving him one right now because of work from home. So I
Yeah,
could
he's a
use
developer. Yeah.
if
Yeah.
he allows me to use his precious his precious computer.
You ask him, but sometimes as a developer, you want to have a platform, a computer that you can use for developing purposes that is clear of any data. So
Yeah,
I don't know if he will be able, you'll be able,
yeah,
maybe.
we'll see.
Now in like, I'm not going to go into details of software and how to edit, because they all work pretty much the same, and you have to test and try and look and try on error. But you have to use a software that is timeline based. A timeline is something at the bottom where you have the time and you can have all your shots like this. So there are some free softwares, and on the Mac there's iMovie, which is the free software, and it works great for most users. And it's very intuitive. For a little bit more advanced users, but still free, is a software called DaVinci Resolve. DaVinci, like Leonardo da Vinci, and it's very good software. It's like really, I would recommend it if you go a little bit more advanced, and it's for both Mac and PC. If you want to pay for it, um, it's Adobe Premiere and Final Cut Pro. You've probably heard of those softwares, but they are top dollars. Like the software itself can be $2,000, So yeah, I don't know if you have those needs. And on the phone, I never tried it because in my opinion, it's not good enough. But there is a software that's called Quick, without a C. So Quiq, Quick, I'm sorry, for iPhones and Androids, but I've never tried it. I wouldn't recommend you to do any editing on the phone. It's not good enough. So now when you have your files on your phone, you can send them to your computer. You probably know how to do that. If you don't know, you can search how to do it. On the Mac, it's pretty easy, air transfers. If it's short files, small files under 2 gigabytes, you can send them by email, under 2 gigabytes. But if it's above that, which most likely it is, then you have to use some other methods like a cable or something else. Now, what's very important is when you start a project, you have to keep all your files organized. Let me just show you a little bit how I organize them, just as an example. All right. So, so this is my network attached storage, and this is the video I did for the Sabbath, right? So I called it That Other Angel. Then I have my PowerPoint materials that I put here. I have my raw files. Those are all my recordings, plus a video file of a song, a music video that I put there. All my rendered files that are here. So those are my final files. And these are my JPEGs or PNG, basically the graphics that I've used. So this is a simple, very, very simple project. I have almost no files there. But if you go to a project that is bigger, I still have the same structure, except I have more. Like in raw files, I have the intros, music, speaker presentations, translation, and so on, right? And more subcategories, right? So you keep all your things organized so that it's easy for you to access them later in your projects. Especially if you do a lot of recordings, I recommend that on your phone you do a lot of shots, except for Naisha that wants to do a long shot and then remove all the sound and just put some music. But if you want to actually film something, stop it. Film something, stop it. It will be easier. And back up if possible. So when you work on your things, don't delete everything from your phone and then work only from your computer. If your computer crashes, you lose everything. Don't work from a USB key or from an external drive, because those are not some reliable methods to work, especially USB keys like flash drives. They stop working randomly. You can never trust them. Never store anything on them. Important. It's transitional space, right? You're transferring data, but never store anything on USB key. And backup if possible.
Like backup on your cloud?
No, backup. Like if you have an external drive, for example, you're working a big project, it will take you weeks to do it. You want to save your data on an external drive. So
oh, like the little black, like it's
yeah,
like a black square kind of.
Yeah, like your hard drive, right? So it could be. By the way, I have one for sale, if anyone wants. That's an internal hard drive, but anyways. So yeah, backup as much as possible. If you have long projects and that are taking you a lot of time. If it's quick projects, like you can work in it in 1 hour, no worries. But your personal files though should be always backed up. Personal and professional files. I have one person in my relative that lost everything, 10 years of their lives on their computers. All pictures, from childhood and everything was gone. So, I don't do that anymore. It was not me, thankfully, but
So you back every time you save a document, you put it on the.
For me, I have an automatic way. It's automatically transferred.
Okay.
Every time I change a document, I have a software that runs in the background and that saves it on the external drive.
Okay.
Which is in the basement. So if I lose my computer, if something crashes, something fails, I always have all my data saved.
Okay.
But I'm extra careful, so you don't necessarily need to do that for small projects. So now when you start your project with your software, you have to, from the beginning, before you add your files and everything, you have to determine your resolution and frame rates when you start your project. So resolution is Full HD or 4K. That's your resolution, basically. And your frame rate is, you don't need to worry about that, but if they ask you to select it, select either 30 or 60 frames per second, which is the standard for North America. So if it asks you, you know what to select. If you don't, then the easiest is to let your editor decide automatically based on the footage you bring in. It will decide what to do.
I just wanted to suggest, because we just started talking about editing and I don't know if we're gonna take a long time. I was gonna say, like, is it better if we cut it? Like, because I don't want to rush it either. Like,
it's actually not long. Editing is really not complicated. It's just a trial and error thing.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to take too much of your time, but
no, I wasn't, because I find it really interesting. So I don't want to be like super tired and then not understand most things.
Right.
It's gonna take another hour.
It shouldn't be too long, unless there are lots of questions. But so when you open your timeline, basically you want to set those settings, and then you start importing all your video. Before you start cutting and doing things, actually working, you can do your first steps if you want to do color editing, which I don't recommend for a beginner. But if you want to do any color editing, do it first, so it's consistent with all the frames, all the video, and do all the sound correction also before. Like if you record it and it's not loud enough, like you put your computer on the medium volume and you listen to it. If it's not loud enough, you have to raise it a little bit. Then go by little steps, little adjustments, but do it on the whole, all the videos, all the tracks, and then you can cut and work on it. Because if you raise the video, if you cut first and then you raise the sound here and then there, and then it will be all jaggedy, it won't be good. When you start cutting and pasting your actual shots that you want to do, don't overdo the transitions and effects. You want to have as much as possible rough cuts. So just cut, go to the next, cut, next. Instead of doing transitions like dissolving or effects or things like that, usually rough cuts are better. And also the only thing you want to do is that at the end or the beginning, you want to fade to black. So fade to black means your video will just turn black until it's dark. That's it. So it shows that you're closing something. And I can show you a little bit how I work with iMovie, but very, very quickly because it's not a
How do
demo.
you do it? I noticed that like now your videos, like at the beginning you put a little intro kind of like, did you do that with iMovie? Like when you put the Le Meilleur Chemin, like the logo?
The logo, and so I didn't design that clip. I paid somebody to do it.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't know how to do it. It's
Yeah,
not
so
with iMovie, no. It's with professional software. So I paid somebody. It's very cheap actually to do intro and conclusion. And
okay.
I told them what I wanted, and they did it for me. You know.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So, but I have the same intro. So I have my file there. It's always ready in all of my projects. The file's there. Just drag and drop.
Okay.
So I'm just going to share my screen again. It's not right. So it's not a demo, but basically that's what you have here, and that's a timeline. So timeline is a timeline is that you have all your shots here. That's my first clip, and then you have all your shots. These are the recordings, right? Which some of them I cut because, like for example, the speaker was coughing or making some noise or stopping sometimes. So these are all my shots. I do some straight cuts usually, and then I put this is with a translation, so I put the French on top. But if I remove it, you'll see that underneath it's actually the English one. So I just put a picture of the PowerPoint that I translated the PowerPoint, then I exported in a JPEG, so as pictures, and then I put it on top of the video, so it's over. So everything that's here at the baseline will be the main video. Whatever you put on top will be over it. So it's like layers. You're putting things over, right? And then this is your sound. So I work a lot by sound. Let me just zoom in a little bit. So this is my recording that I put the French translation on top of it. But I work a lot by sound. So if you look at it, you see the sound wave. This is a sound wave. So when I talk, this is what it does. So I know that here I'm silent or here, right? So this can help you also know where to cut, for example. You might want to cut, in those places where there is silence and so on. So working with a sound really helps. And then you see that most of the cuts here are just, you don't have any transitions. You don't need any transition. See, it's just straight to what you want to show. And all the softwares are pretty much the same. You have all your videos here, sound, video, pictures, graphics, everything here. You have your timeline here, and you have your final version here, which is when you're working on it. What you have to learn is you have to learn a lot your shortcuts to be able to be efficient. So cut is usually C. So those things, so that when you go in your timeline, you don't have to go to the menu and say clip, cut. You want to just hit the C button and you're done with your cuts. So that's something I wanted to mention. Okay, now when you're ready for your final export, before you do that, listen to the sound again. Make sure the sound is good. You can't fix the audio easily, so make sure the sound is good, volume is right. Make sure it doesn't clip. The volume doesn't clip, which is when it's too loud, and your software will probably show you it's too loud. Also, you can put some music at this time. When your project is completely finished, then you can put some music. You have to choose your music carefully and the same length as your video. Or if it's too, like if your video is too long, then you can put several musics, but try to search. There are some many good search engines where you can input your time. You want a music that's 2 minutes and 35 seconds, Just put that time, and more or less it will show you all the musics that are around that time. Be careful about copyright issues. If you don't want your, if you want your video on YouTube to stay on YouTube, don't put any music that is copyrighted. Okay, so copyright music is the best way to get your music, your video off YouTube.
Like music,
Free,
like
you know, music that is not copyrighted, or like the author died, for example, more than 50 years ago. That's good. Or some royalty-free music. So I'm going to send you.
so like for example,
I'm going to send you some links here in the description. So those are 4 websites where you can find music, and stock music. It's called stock music. Some are free, some you have to pay, but it's music that you can use freely and that you will not be receive a strike on YouTube.
do you mean, for example, let's say you put, I don't know, let's say a classical song, but that's not over 50 years. Like, you mean that, or you mean like you mean music, like elevator music that's copyrighted? I'm not sure. Because some people, let's say they put a pop song.
I can't. The laws about copyright are very, very complicated. So it's very complicated. But usually, unless the author has said that their music was not copyrighted, usually assume that it is. So unless you make your own music, of course, there is no copyright. You're fine. Or if you use some music that is copyrighted, make sure you can buy the license, you know, for that music. You can buy it. Sometimes you can buy it for $3, your music, you know, and that's it. You can use some free music that you find online. Just, you know, you can use those websites I just gave you, or you just Google, you know, copyright-free music, and you can find a database of lots of musics. Sometimes elevator music is not copyrighted, sometimes it is. So make sure before you use something. Also, any
like games, like all that stuff, you're saying like sometimes it could be copyrighted. Like, let's say some people put a pop song, things like that. Like I didn't know that. Like you can't put.
Yes.
In many cases, YouTube will detect where your music is from.
Yes.
Sometimes it just remove you from the category that you can earn money. It's just that the money, if there's money, and then money goes to the copyright author instead of your channel. But in that case, you are still legal to put your music there, especially if you sing a song cover the original song, and then they normally have an agreement that it can be covered, but just you don't earn money.
Yes. So what Brother Goldie is explaining is that when you put videos on YouTube, especially YouTube, it has some algorithms that detect the copyrights. If your work contains copyrighted music, let me just show you what it looks like. All right. So for example, these are my videos, right, on YouTube. You can see all the videos here. This is a music that presents some, it's in French, I'm sorry, but it's music that has some copyright strike, which means it's a warning from YouTube saying you are actually using a music that is not yours, and the author or the owner has the right to claim that music and to force you to remove that music from your video. Most of the times on YouTube, they don't use that right because, you know, they don't, but they have the right to do it. And so you just find this, and you cannot advertise on that music, on that video. I'm not using any advertisement, but in case you wanted to use that, you can't use any advertisement on that video. And if you do use it, then the proceed of the money would be sent to the owner of that music. So that's just, most of the time it's just a warning from YouTube, but just know that it's not legal and that they could ask you to remove it. Okay, and we're coming to the end. So you're done with your music and everything, your work. You have to export with the highest quality possible. So whatever your software is offering, saying high quality, select the highest quality, because then YouTube will take care of that. if most people will post it on YouTube. YouTube will take care of toning it down if it's too high, or tweaking it. But you want the highest export, as highest quality as possible, and make sure you have plenty of space on your hard drive. When you export, make sure the power cord is plugged in, that you don't have any screensaver that is going to kick in after an hour or half an hour. Many times that ruins your exports, because your computer goes on, it just goes to sleep. So you want to avoid those mistakes. And then your video is ready, just upload it to YouTube. I'm not going to enter into details on how to upload to YouTube. I think that's the easiest part. I'm sure you can figure it out, but there's a button right here on YouTube, import videos. That's it. So I'm not going to show all the details, but I hope that helps. Do you have any questions? Do you have any points that, again, this is rapidly brushing something. I'm not entering into details, but most of those things you will learn by yourself. I just wanted you to know a little bit what it takes. How does that sound?
I think it was very useful, and thank you.
You feel more
I've
comfortable?
asked my questions.
Did it answer all your questions? Do you find do you see yourself comfortably starting some video filming and editing?
Yeah, I feel like you're saying that it wouldn't, like, I was scared it would take like a long time. The type that I want to do. But
Right.
if you say an hour, that's doable. Like you say for like a 10-minute video, an hour, that
Yeah.
sounds doable. So I think it could be fun.
Let's
Yeah.
start with something simple, and then we can do more complex thing later. Yeah, start with simple.
Yes, start with something simple. No problem. You don't have to make your video public if you're not happy with it, Just show it to your husband, to your wife, and,
You can make video just share from Facebook, or just share from a group first, right?
Yes. One thing that I recommend, if you use Facebook, you want to post your video on Facebook, is great. There are two different ways, two different algorithms. So Facebook will kind of not really store your video. Like, it's really hard to find an old video from Facebook, because you always have new things. So if you want to store a video for later use and viewers that will come regularly and watch it, put it on YouTube, prioritize YouTube. On Facebook, also, you will have a lot more views of your videos, but it's not real views, because when people scroll down and your video starts, it's one view. So it's not really something that you've watched. You know what I mean? So sometimes people say, well, I have a lot of views on Facebook. Well, that's normal. It's not real people that have watched it.
Mm-hmm.
So you can put it on both platforms, no problem. Just know that those are two different things. That's why I don't really use Facebook for storage of my videos. Anything else that you would like to say, Brother Goldie? Did you want to also have some good counsel? I know you've been doing some video editing as well.
It's almost already 1.5 hours, but I don't take much time. Just that for me, I mostly do the music. Now, especially in this COVID, there's more and more popular about the virtual choir. I believe you also watch a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then the most challenging part of that is really taking the sound from individuals, and then especially they are really in sync. So I also found a lot of less courses, small courses or small videos explaining how to do that. But when I started with it, I said I did not watch any this kind of video. But most is that they are same method. But more important, I think if we do it later, if we do it more, I will think that we need a conductor individual on top of a soundtrack as music to sing along with. I think the visual guidance on top of that will be very good for us to synchronize the voice later. For me, in the before, when I edit the video, I had to synchronize some key words, especially like at the beginning or at the end.
Right.
we do 100% synchronized, otherwise it's very weird. Then I had to stretch the video and the audio together to make it synchronized. That's really a lot of work. And,
Yes.
and also the mixing the sound. That's why I emphasized when taking this kind of music video, you need to take your voice only without any music background. Because if you mix the voice, all the tracks, if all the music add up, then the music will too loud. Because normally it's on one copy of music and many copy of voice. But if you sing along and mix together, then music will be you won't be able to lower down the music. And also when you sing, normally your music is playing from the air. You just record it back, and then you don't want to mix that together. Yeah,
That's
and,
true. So what you're saying is that you want the cleanest recording as possible.
Yeah, and
So,
then especially don't mix the music. I don't want to add too much, but I agree with better it's really time consuming. But if you follow some pattern, I mean, you can build up some pattern that you are comfortable with, and then follow that pattern every time to do a similar thing. Then you'll be very, very productive to produce many videos in good quality. Because for us, we are not professional. We don't need to do different style of videos all the time. Most probably we do the same style of video, but produce more and more and more. And that we just build up the how you do it, and then you follow that to do it. Best practice for you is important.
That's right. Thank you. So yeah, the recording needs to be as clean as possible. No background sound, especially the sound. You know, like for music videos, you want people that sing to have in their headphones to have the music that the track that they're singing onto in their headphones, not playing next to them, because that would not be a clean sound. So sound is the most important point. Even if you have a terrible video quality, terrible, you see all pixelated, you know, it's blurry and everything, but the sound is good, people will still watch it. So, all right, so I hope it helped. And I wish you all a good night of rest.